The probe appeared near Jupiter on a cold morning in March. Admiral Tae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the ESS Horizon, watching the strange object drift through space. It was unlike anything humans had ever built. The metal shimmered with colors that seemed impossible. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," said the communications officer. Her hands shook slightly as she worked the controls. Tae-ho took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with alien life. "Put it through," he said. The message was simple. It came in perfect English, somehow translated by the probe itself. The Galactic Council invited Earth to send representatives to their station. They wanted to welcome humanity into the wider universe. Tae-ho felt his heart race. This was it. Everything was about to change. 3 weeks later, Tae-ho commanded the first human ship to dock at the Council station. Ambassador Soo-jin Kang stood beside him, her face full of wonder. Dr. Yuna Lee pressed her face against the viewport, trying to see everything at once. The station was massive. It stretched for miles in every direction. Ships of 1,000 different designs came and went like bees around a hive. "Look at them all," Yuna whispered. Through the windows they could see dozens of alien species. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated in the air or crawled on 6 legs. One creature looked like living crystal. Another seemed to be made of pure light. The docking process took hours. When they finally stepped off their ship, a tall alien waited for them. Its skin was dark purple and its eyes glowed like red coals. It wore robes that sparkled with embedded jewels. "Welcome, humans," it said. Its voice was cold. "I am Attendant Vril. Follow me to the council chambers." They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some pointed and whispered. A few laughed. Tae-ho felt uncomfortable. This didn't feel like a warm welcome. It felt more like being examined in a zoo. The council chambers were enormous. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above. Around a circular table sat 12 beings. Each one looked powerful and ancient. In the center on the largest throne sat Overlord Vexthor. His species looked almost like humans, but his skin was metallic silver and his fingers ended in sharp claws. Soo-jin stepped forward. She had practiced her speech for weeks. "Honored members of the council, Earth brings greetings of peace and friendship. We come with open hands and open hearts, hoping to learn from you and share what we—" "Silence," Vexthor said. His voice was not loud, but it cut through the air like a knife. "We did not ask you to speak, Primitive." Soo-jin's face went red. Tae-ho felt anger rise in his chest. Beside him, Yuna's hands clenched into fists. Another council member leaned forward. This one looked like a massive insect covered in golden armor. "Let us be clear, humans. You are not here as equals. You are here to receive our terms." "Terms?" Soo-jin asked. Her voice was steady, but Tae-ho could hear the worry in it. "We thought this was a diplomatic meeting." A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke next. Its voice was high and musical. "Every species that joins the council must contribute. It is how our society functions. You should be grateful we offer you protection." "Protection from what?" Tae-ho asked. Vexthor smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "From us, Admiral. Now here are our requirements. Earth will provide 60% of its resources each year. This includes metals, water, and organic materials. You will reduce your population to 2 billion within 10 years. All military vessels must be destroyed, and you will send 100,000 humans annually to work in our colonies." The chamber fell silent. Tae-ho felt like he had been punched in the stomach. Yuna gasped. Soo-jin's face had gone pale. "You can't be serious," Soo-jin said. "That's not cooperation. That's slavery. You're asking us to destroy ourselves." The insect creature clicked its mandibles. 847 species have accepted these terms. Those who refuse no longer exist. Choose wisely. Tae-ho stepped forward. "And if we negotiate, surely we can find terms that benefit everyone." The council members looked at each other. Then they laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Vexthor stood up, his claws scraping on the stone floor. "Negotiate? You have nothing we want except your resources and your labor. You are primitives who barely discovered faster-than-light travel. You have no power here, no voice. No choice." He sat back down. "You have 30 days to accept our terms. Dismissed." Guards appeared from the shadows and escorted them out. The walk back to their ship was silent. When they finally sealed the airlock behind them, Soo-jin collapsed into a chair. "They're monsters," she whispered. "All of them. The entire galaxy is run by monsters." Yuna was already at a computer terminal. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "I'm checking their database. They gave us limited access." She scrolled through files, her face growing darker. "Taiho, Sujin, you need to see this." They gathered around the screen. Yuna pulled up file after file. Each one told the same story. Species after species had joined the council. Those who accepted the terms became servants. Their world stripped of resources, their people worked to death. Those who refused were destroyed. Entire civilizations erased from existence. "Look at this one," Yuna said. "The Kelthera. They were peaceful. They tried to negotiate. The council gave them two choices: submit or die. When they asked for more time, the council destroyed their home world. 3 billion dead in a single day." Taiho felt sick. He had spent his entire career working for peace. He had helped end the resource wars on Earth. He believed that violence was always the last option. But now he understood something terrible. Sometimes there was no peaceful option. The trip back to Earth took 5 days. They used the time to gather all the information they could. Every file they accessed showed the same pattern. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They maintained power through fear and overwhelming force. Species that obeyed lived as slaves. Species that resisted died. When they arrived home, President Borahan was waiting. She had called an emergency meeting of all Earth's leaders. The United Nations building was packed. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence. Sujin presented the Council's terms. When she finished, the chamber erupted. People shouted. Some demanded they accept to save humanity. Others called for war. The arguments went on for hours. Finally, President Han raised her hand for silence. "We need facts, not emotions. Dr. Lee, what did you learn about their military?" Yuna stood. "Their technology is far ahead of ours. Their ships are faster and more powerful. They have weapons we can barely understand. In a straight fight, we would lose badly." "Then we must accept," said the Chinese premier. "We have no choice." Taiho stood up. His voice was quiet, but everyone heard him. "There's always a choice. They think we are weak because our technology is primitive. They think we will surrender because others have. But they have never faced humanity. They have never fought a species that has been at war with itself for thousands of years." He turned to face the assembly. "We know how to fight. We know how to survive. We know how to win against impossible odds. And more importantly, we know something they have forgotten. Some things are worth dying for." "Freedom is worth dying for." Sujin stood beside him. "Taiho is right. We tried peace. We offered friendship. They answered with chains. If we accept their terms, humanity dies slowly. If we fight, at least we die free." President Han looked around the room. "We have 30 days to give them an answer. In that time, we prepare for both possibilities. But know this, I will not condemn humanity to slavery. If we must fight, then we fight together." As the meeting ended, Yuna pulled Taiho aside. "I found something else," she said quietly. "There are refugees hiding throughout the galaxy, species that escaped the Council's purges. One of them is here on Earth, a Kelthera survivor. She wants to meet with us." "Why?" Taiho asked. Yuna smiled. It was the first smile Taiho had seen since they left the Council station. "Because she says there are others like her. 12 species with secret resistance cells. They have been waiting for someone to stand up to the Council. They have been waiting for hope." She looked up at the stars through the window. "Maybe humanity can give them that hope." Taiho nodded slowly. The next 30 days would determine humanity's fate. They had tried peace. The galaxy had given them war instead. Now they would show the Council what happens when you force peaceful people to become warriors. The Kelthera refugee's name was Sella. She lived in a small apartment in Tokyo, hiding among humans. When Dr. Yuna Lee and Admiral Taiho Kim met her, they understood why she stayed hidden. Her skin was pale blue and covered in delicate patterns that glowed softly. Her eyes were huge and dark. She moved with a grace that seemed almost like dancing. "Thank you for seeing us," Yuna said. They sat in Sella's small living room. The windows were covered with thick curtains. Sella's voice was like music. "I have waited 3 years for this moment. When I heard Earth received the Council's offer, I knew this was my chance." She poured them tea with trembling hands. "I watched my world burn. The Council said we were being unreasonable. We had asked for 5 years instead of 2 to reduce our population. They said no. 3 days later, their fleet arrived. They bombarded our cities from orbit. I only survived because I was on a cargo ship that escaped. Tejo set down his cup. You said there are others. Other survivors. Yes, 12 species have organized resistance cells. We are small. We are weak, but we have been preparing. We have been gathering information about Council military installations, supply routes, and command structures. We have been waiting for someone to lead. Sela looked directly at Tejo. We have been waiting for hope. Hope? Yuna asked. How can we give you hope? We are just one planet. We have no experience fighting in space. The Council has 1,000 worlds, Sela smiled sadly. That is why you can win. The Council has forgotten how to truly fight. They intimidate, they threaten, but they have not faced real resistance in centuries. When you strike them, others will follow. The galaxy will wake up. She pulled out a small data device. This contains everything we have gathered. Ship movements, weapon specifications, locations of slave labor camps. Use it well. While diplomacy struggled, Earth's military moved in secret. Commander Daejung Cho stood in a training facility 200 meters below the moon's surface. Around him, Marines practiced combat in zero gravity. They wore new suits designed for fighting in space. They carried weapons that could punch through alien armor. Again, Daejung shouted. A squad of 12 Marines pushed off from the walls, moving in perfect formation. They swept through the training area, their movements precise and deadly. In space, there was no up or down. No cover like on Earth. Everything was different. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Hana Song, floated over to him. They are improving. But will it be enough? It has to be, Daejung said. He had fought in the resource wars. He had seen cities destroyed and millions die. He knew the cost of conflict. But he also knew that sometimes fighting was the only option. The Council expects us to surrender. When we do not, they will send ships. We need to be ready. In orbit above Earth, Chief Engineer Min Ho Jang worked on something the Council would never expect. The aliens had superior technology. Their shields could stop lasers and particle beams. Their hulls were nearly indestructible. But Min Ho had studied the data from Sela. He found something interesting. The Council had never faced nuclear weapons. To them, fusion bombs were primitive and outdated. They used antimatter and exotic particles. Their shields were not designed to stop the brutal, simple force of a nuclear explosion. We can modify our missiles, Minho explained to a team of scientists. Each one carries a 50-megaton warhead. If we can get past their point defenses, we can hurt them. Really hurt them? A young engineer raised her hand. But their computers are too fast. They will shoot down our missiles before they get close. Minho smiled. Not if we overwhelm them. Not if we launch hundreds at once from multiple directions. Their systems are designed for elegant ship-to-ship combat. They have never faced swarm tactics. He pulled up a display showing a simulation. Human ships launched wave after wave of missiles. The Council ships destroyed many, but dozens got through. Nuclear fire bloomed against their shields. The shields overloaded. The ships died. We fight like humans have always fought, Minho said quietly. We use every advantage. We cheat. We survive. 20 days passed. The debate in the United Nations continued. Some nations wanted to accept the Council's terms. They argued that partial survival was better than extinction. Others stood firm. They said freedom mattered more than life. Captain Jiwoo Park prepared tactical analysis for the military leadership. She was young for a captain, only 34, but brilliant. She had studied every war in human history. She understood that technology alone did not win battles. Look at Vietnam, she told the assembled officers. The Americans had better weapons, better technology, better everything. They lost because the Vietnamese understood their own terrain. They used guerrilla tactics. They made the war too expensive to continue. She pointed to the asteroid belt on the star map. This is our jungle. The Council ships are big and powerful. Ours are small and maneuverable. We hide among the asteroids. We use the terrain. We make them bleed for every meter. Admiral Taeho Kim listened carefully. And when they bring overwhelming force? When they decide to simply destroy Earth from orbit? Jiwoo met his eyes. Then we make sure they lose so many ships that it terrifies the galaxy. We make sure every species under Council rule sees that resistance is possible. We light the spark that Sela talked about. The 30th day arrived. President Borahan stood before the cameras. The entire world watched. Every screen on Earth showed her face. She looked tired but determined. People of Earth, she began. 30 days ago, we learned we are not alone in the universe. We learned that among the stars there is a vast civilization of thousands of species. We hoped to join them as friends. Instead, they offered us chains," she paused. Somewhere in Tokyo, Sela watched with tears in her glowing eyes. On the moon, Daejung and his marines stood at attention. In orbit, Minho checked his missiles one more time. On the bridge of the ESS Defiance, Jiwoo took command of humanity's defense fleet. "The Galactic Council has given us a choice," President Han continued. "Become their slaves or face destruction. They believe we will surrender. They believe fear will make us weak. They are wrong." Her voice grew stronger. "Humanity has faced extinction before. We have faced plague and famine. We have faced wars that nearly destroyed us. Every time we survived, not because we were the strongest, not because we had the best weapons, but because we refused to give up, because we believed some things were worth fighting for. Today I have met with every leader on Earth. We have debated and argued. We have counted the cost in lives and blood. And we have reached a decision. A unanimous decision." She looked directly into the camera. "Earth rejects the Council's terms. We choose freedom. We choose to stand. And if they want to take our world, they will have to fight for every inch of it." The broadcast ended. Ambassador Sujin Kang transmitted the message to the Council station. It was short and simple. Just 3 words in dozens of languages. "We choose war." On the Council station, Overlord Vexthor received the message. He read it once. Then he laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound that made his attendants flinch. "Another primitive species thinks it can resist," he said. He turned to General Kratos, the military commander. "Send the enforcement fleet. 50 ships should be enough. Destroy their military. Bombard their cities. Leave enough alive to serve as a lesson to other species." General Kratos bowed. His species had evolved from pack hunters. His teeth were sharp and his eyes were yellow. "It will be done, Overlord. The humans will regret their foolishness." As he left to prepare the fleet, Trade Master Quellic spoke up. "Are you certain 50 ships are enough? The intelligence reports say they have some military capability." Vexthor waved his clawed hand dismissively. "They have barely left their own solar system. Their ships are slow and their weapons are primitive. 50 ships could destroy 100 worlds like theirs. This will be over in days. Then we will find more compliant species to add to our empire." But High Priestess Talvina felt uneasy. She had studied the human broadcasts. She had watched their president speak. There was something in that woman's eyes, something dangerous. It reminded her of the Kelthara, who had fought to the last before being exterminated. "Perhaps we should negotiate," she suggested carefully. "Offer them better terms. Avoid the cost of war." Vexthor stood up. "Negotiate? With primitives? Never. The Council does not negotiate. We command. We conquer. We rule." He looked at the star map showing Earth. In 1 week, the humans will remember their place, on their knees. On Earth, Admiral Taeho Kim gathered his fleet commanders. 50 ships were coming. Earth had only 10 warships capable of deep space combat. The odds were 5-1 against them. In any normal battle, they would lose. But this would not be a normal battle. Jiwoo had a plan. Minho had the weapons. Daejung had the marines. And they all had something the Council had never faced. They had humanity's entire history of war to draw from. Thousands of years of tactics and strategies. Centuries of learning how to beat superior enemies through cunning and courage. "Remember," Taeho told his officers, "they think we are weak. They think technology makes them invincible. Let them think that. Right up until the moment we prove them wrong." The fleet dispersed to their positions, hidden among the asteroids, concealed behind moons, waiting in the darkness of space. The trap was set. Now they just needed the Council to walk into it. General Kratos stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Around him, 49 other Council warships moved in perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times the size of the largest human vessel. Their hulls gleamed with advanced armor. Their weapons could vaporize mountains. "How long until we reach the human system?" Kratos asked. 6 hours, General," his tactical officer replied. "The humans have cleared their orbital stations. Their civilian ships have retreated behind their moon." Kratos smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "They are running already. Good, this will be quick." He had commanded fleet actions for 3 centuries. He had crushed rebellions on dozens of worlds. This would be no different, but his communications officer looked worried. "Sir, we are having trouble locating their military vessels." Our sensors show only empty space. They are hiding, Kratos said with contempt. It does not matter. Scan their moon. Scan their planet. Find them and destroy them. Hidden among the rocks of the asteroid belt, Captain Jiwoo Park watched her displays. The Council fleet moved exactly as she predicted. They were arrogant. They flew in tight formation, presenting themselves as an unstoppable wall of power. Perfect targets, all ships. This is defiance, she transmitted on the coded channel. Hold position. Wait for my signal. Around her, 9 other human warships waited in silence. Their hulls were covered with special coating that made them nearly invisible to sensors. They looked like just more asteroids floating in space. Her tactical officer counted down. Council fleet entering the belt. They are spreading out to search for us. Good, Jiwoo said. Let them spread out. Let them get comfortable. She remembered her history. At the Battle of Midway, American dive bombers had caught Japanese carriers with their decks full of aircraft. The timing had been perfect. Today would be perfect too. Kratos grew impatient. His fleet had been searching for 30 minutes. Where were the humans? His sensors showed nothing but asteroids and dust. General, we are detecting something, the tactical officer said suddenly. Multiple contacts. They are coming from all sides. On Jiwoo's display, the trap sprung. 10 human warships emerged from hiding. Their engines burned bright as they accelerated. But they were not attacking. They were running, leading the Council ships deeper into the belt. After them, Kratos roared. His ships turned to pursue. They were faster than the human vessels. The gap closed quickly. Prepare weapons. I want them destroyed before they can... The explosions came from everywhere at once. Asteroids that the Council ships had passed suddenly erupted in nuclear fire. They were not asteroids at all. They were mines. Thousands of them. Humanity had spent the last week seeding the belt with nuclear weapons disguised as rocks. Shields up, Kratos shouted. But the Council shields were designed for ship weapons, not for the raw power of nuclear explosions. They flickered and overloaded. 3 ships at the rear of the formation simply vanished in white-hot plasma. Before Kratos could recover, the human ships turned. They were no longer running. They attacked. Each one launched a swarm of missiles. Not tens or hundreds, thousands, the sky filled with them. Point defense, Kratos ordered. His ship's automated systems fired lasers and particle beams. Missiles exploded by the hundreds. But there were too many. For every one destroyed, 3 got through. Nuclear warheads detonated against Council shields. Most held, but some ships had been damaged by the mines. Their shields were weak. 2 more ships died, torn apart by fusion fire. Another 4 lost power and went dark, drifting helplessly. Impossible, Kratos whispered. They are primitives. This should not be happening. Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. All ships, second wave. Launch everything. The human vessels fired again. This time they also launched hundreds of small pods. Each pod contained a squad of Marines in powered armor. Commander Daejung Cho felt his pod shake as it launched from the Defiance. Around him, his team checked their weapons one last time. They were heading for a Council cruiser that had lost power. They would board it, take it, show the galaxy that humans could fight anywhere. 2 minutes to impact, the pod's computer announced. Through the small window, Daejung could see the battle raging. Ships maneuvered. Weapons flashed. Space itself seemed to burn. It was beautiful and terrible. The pod hit the alien ship's hull. Cutting torches activated automatically. 15 seconds later, they breached. The Marines poured into the ship. The alien crew wore no armor. They had never expected boarders. They fought back with handheld weapons, but they were not soldiers. They were technicians and officers. Daejung's team moved through the corridors with brutal efficiency. They had trained for this. Every doorway was a potential ambush. Every corner was checked and cleared. The aliens tried to fall back to their bridge. The Marines followed. The bridge door was sealed. Daejung placed a charge. The explosion blew the door inward. His squad rushed through. Inside, 12 aliens tried to defend their stations. The fight lasted 10 seconds. When it ended, Daejung stood over the alien captain. "This ship is ours," he said into his recorder. He transmitted the footage back to Earth and out to the galaxy. Let everyone see. Let them know that humans could take what they wanted. Kratos watched in horror as the humans captured one of his ships. His fleet had lost 9 vessels now. 9 against 10 primitive warships. This was madness. This was impossible. "General, we are receiving casualties reports," his communications officer said. The officer's hand shook. 800 crew members dead. 3,000 wounded. I know what we have never done," Kratos roared. He forced himself to think. The humans were winning. His formation was broken. His ships were scattered among the asteroids. He needed to regroup. He needed to retreat. "All ships fall back," he ordered. The words tasted like poison in his mouth. "Retreat to the edge of the system. We need to reorganize," but the humans were not done. As the Council ships turned to flee, Lieutenant Hana Song led her fighter squadron in a final attack. Her fighters were small and fast. They dove between the larger ships, firing missiles at close range. 2 more Council vessels took critical damage. Hana's fighter shook as enemy fire passed close. She spun, dodged, and fired back. Her missiles hit an enemy cruiser's engine. It exploded in a ball of plasma. "That's for my cousin in Tokyo," she whispered. The Council's probe had destroyed her family's home when it first arrived. She had personal reasons to fight. Finally, after 3 hours of battle, the Council fleet escaped the asteroid belt. Kratos looked at his damage reports and felt sick. 12 ships destroyed, 15 ships damaged, over 2,000 crew members dead. And they had destroyed exactly 0 human vessels. The humans had been too quick, too clever, too dangerous. "Send a message to the Council," Kratos said quietly. "Tell them we need reinforcements. Many reinforcements. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had won." Admiral Tae-ho Kim watched the celebrations from his office. He felt tired. Yes, they had won. But this was only the first battle. The Council would return with more ships, more weapons, more hate. Dr. Yuna Lee entered his office. Her face was serious. "Tae-ho, I have been monitoring broadcasts from across the galaxy. The resistance cells are moving. After seeing our victory, they are sabotaging Council facilities. There have been uprisings on 7 different worlds." Tae-ho nodded slowly. Sela was right. "We lit the spark. Now the fire is spreading. But the Council will respond," Yuna said. "They will bring their full military power. Everything they have. Can we survive that?" "I do not know," Tae-ho admitted. "But we have something they do not. We have allies now. Species that are tired of slavery. And we have shown them that the Council can bleed. That is enough." On the Council station, Overlord Vexthor received Kratos' report. He read it 3 times. Then he stood and walked to the great window that looked out over the galaxy. For 10,000 years, the Council had ruled unopposed. Species surrendered or died. There was no middle ground. No resistance until now. "Summon the other Council members," he told his aide. "We have a problem. A serious problem." High Priestess Talvina arrived first. She had heard the news. "I warned you," she said. "I told you to negotiate." "Silence," Vexthor said. But his voice lacked its usual power. "The humans have won a minor victory. Nothing more. We will send 500 ships. We will crush them completely." Trademaster Quelix waddled in. His species looked like giant slugs covered in expensive jewelry. 500 ships? Do you know the cost? This war will bankrupt us. Then we make the humans pay, Vexthor said coldly. We strip their world bare. We take everything, every resource, every person. We will make an example of them that the galaxy will never forget. But as the council argued across the galaxy, something changed. On mining worlds, slaves whispered about Earth's victory. In hidden cells, resistance fighters prepared. On neutral worlds, governments watched and wondered. If one primitive planet could bloody the council's nose, what could an organized resistance do? The galaxy was waking up, and it was angry. On Earth, Chief Engineer Minho Jang studied the captured council cruiser. His team had already learned so much. The aliens' technology was advanced, but it was also predictable. They relied too much on their computers. Their systems were networked together for efficiency. The mining world of Tivros 4 had been a council slave colony for 200 years. 5 million workers dug precious metals from the deep tunnels. They lived in underground barracks. They worked 16 hours each day. Many died young. The council did not care. There were always more slaves. But everything changed when the workers saw footage of Earth's victory. A small data chip smuggled in by a trader showed human ships fighting. It showed the mighty council fleet retreating. It showed that resistance was possible. The uprising started in Tunnel 7. A worker named Gresh refused to continue. His supervisor struck him. Gresh struck back. Within minutes, the entire tunnel was fighting. Within hours, the entire planet was in rebellion. The council garrison tried to restore order, but the workers outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. The soldiers retreated to their compound. The workers surrounded it and waited. They sent a message into space. We are free. Earth showed us the way. Dr. Yuna Lee received similar reports from across the galaxy. Shipyards sabotaged, supply convoys ambushed, officials assassinated. The resistance was growing. Sela's people provided intelligence and coordination, but it was Earth's victory that gave everyone courage. Look at this. Yuna showed Admiral Taeho Kim. Her screen displayed a star map. Red dots marked uprisings. There were dozens. The Council is sending troops to crush these rebellions. They are spreading their forces thin. This is our opportunity. Taeho studied the map. An opportunity for what? We barely have 10 ships. The Council has thousands. But they cannot be everywhere at once, Yuna said. And we are not alone anymore. 2 neutral species have contacted me, the Netheral and the Kiv. They fear the Council but will not fight openly. However, they will provide intelligence and safe harbors for our ships. They will share their technology. Ambassador Sujin Kang had spent weeks in secret negotiations with these species. The Netheral were aquatic beings, beautiful and graceful. The Kiv looked like giant insects but possessed brilliant minds. Both species hated the Council but were too weak to resist alone. Why help us? Sujin had asked the Netheral ambassador. Because you fight, the Netheral replied. Because you show courage. Because if you can hurt the Council, perhaps someday we can be free too. We give you knowledge. You give us hope. The Kiv offered something different. Their ships used stealth technology that made them nearly invisible. They taught human engineers how to build similar systems. Chief Engineer Minho Jang worked day and night to adapt the technology to human vessels. This changes everything, Minho said excitedly. If our ships can hide like this, we can strike anywhere. The Council will never see us coming. But the Council was not sitting idle. Overlord Vexthor had assembled the largest fleet in centuries. 500 warships gathered at the Council station. General Kratos commanded them personally. He would not fail again. This time, there will be no tricks, Kratos told his officers. We will not enter their asteroid belt. We will not chase them. We will simply bombard Earth from orbit until nothing lives. Then we will do the same to every world that rebels. High Priestess Talvina watched the fleet depart. She felt uneasy. The Council was committing massive resources to destroy one planet. What if they failed? What if the humans found a way to win again? The entire Council structure would collapse. She was not the only one with doubts. Trademaster Quelix calculated the cost of this war. The Council was spending fortunes on ships and weapons. Rebellions meant lost production, lost profits. If this continued, the economic system would break down. We should negotiate, Quelix suggested at a council meeting. Offer the humans better terms. End this war before it bankrupts us. Vexthor slammed his fist on the table. Never, the Council does not negotiate with slaves. We will crush the humans and everyone will remember why they fear us. On Earth, President Bora Han addressed the United Nations. The Council is sending 500 ships. Our scouts have confirmed it. They will arrive in 3 weeks. She paused. The room was silent. We cannot win a direct battle. 500 to 10. The odds are impossible. Then we evacuate, someone suggested. We scatter. Some of humanity will survive, Captain Jiwoo Park stood up. No, we stand and fight. But not here. Not at Earth. She activated a display showing the route the Council fleet would take. They must pass through the Helios Junction. It is a narrow passage between 2 nebulas. Ships must travel single file. It is the perfect ambush point. They will scan it, Admiral Taeho Kim said. They will be careful after last time. Then we give them something to find, Jiwoo said. We place obvious mines. They will clear those. They will think they are safe. But the real weapons will be hidden deeper. Mines, railgun platforms, cyber warfare nodes, everything, she smiled. And we will have help. Sela entered the room. Behind her stood representatives from 12 resistant species. The Council has scattered their forces to crush rebellions, she said. Their home systems are weakly defended. While they attack Earth, we attack them. We hit their shipyards, their supply depots, their command stations. We make them bleed everywhere at once. A massive alien with 4 arms spoke next. His species, the Bronthar, had been enslaved for 5 centuries. My people are ready. Give us weapons. Give us targets. We will fight. Admiral Kim looked at the gathered species. Weeks ago, Earth had been alone. Now they had allies. Not powerful allies, not rich allies, but determined ones. Species that had suffered under the Council and wanted revenge. "We need to coordinate," he said. "When the Council fleet enters the Helios Junction, you attack. All of you.
Hit them everywhere.
Make them panic. Make them divide their attention." The next 3 weeks passed in frantic preparation. Commander Dae-Jung Cho trained mixed units of humans and aliens in boarding tactics. Lieutenant Hana Song taught fighter pilots from 6 different species how to coordinate attacks. Chief Engineer Min Ho-jung distributed weapons and technology to the resistance. At the Helios Junction, human construction ships worked around the clock. They built hidden platforms. They seeded the area with mines. They set up cyber warfare nodes that would activate when Council ships came close. Everything was camouflaged with Kiv stealth technology. "It will not be enough," a young officer said quietly to Taeho. 500 ships. Even with all our tricks, even with our allies, they outnumber us badly." Taeho nodded. "You are right. It probably will not be enough. Many of us will die, perhaps all of us, but we will make them pay. We will make them bleed, and maybe, just maybe, we will inspire the galaxy to rise up and finish what we started." On the 20th day, scouts reported the Council fleet's position. On the 21st day, every human ship moved into position at the junction. On the 22nd day, resistance cells across the galaxy armed themselves and waited for the signal. President Han gave one final broadcast. "People of Earth, people of the galaxy, tomorrow we fight the greatest battle in history. Tomorrow we face impossible odds. Tomorrow many of us will die." She paused. "But we will die free. We will die fighting, and we will show every slave, every oppressed species, every being under the Council's boot that resistance is possible. That freedom is worth any price." She closed her eyes. "We tried peace. They gave us war. Now we will show them what war truly means. Now we will teach them that humanity does not surrender, that we do not kneel, that we will fight until our last breath for the right to be free." Across Earth, people gathered in their homes and watched the stars. They knew their fleet was out there, preparing to face annihilation. They knew most of those brave souls would not return. Parents held children. Lovers held each other. Everyone waited. In space, aboard the ESS Defiance, Jiwoo checked her systems one last time. Around her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. They were ready. They had trained for this. They would fight with everything they had. Commander Cho stood with his Marines in the boarding pods. They had painted messages on their armor. For Earth. For freedom. For humanity. They would fight ship to ship, hand to hand if necessary. They would never stop until they won or died. Lieutenant Song sat in her fighter waiting for launch clearance. She thought about her family. She thought about everyone on Earth. She thought about all the species suffering under Council rule. This was bigger than her. Bigger than any one person. This was about the future of the galaxy. Admiral Tae-ho Kim stood on his bridge and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Council fleet approached. 500 ships full of soldiers who thought they were invincible. 500 ships commanded by generals who had never lost. They were about to learn an important lesson. Numbers did not guarantee victory. Technology did not guarantee victory. What mattered was will. What mattered was courage. What mattered was the willingness to sacrifice everything for what you believed in. "All ships," Taeho transmitted. "The Council comes expecting an easy victory. They think we will break. They think we will run. Show them they are wrong. Show them what humanity truly is. Show them that some species will never kneel." He paused. Then he said the words that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. "We tried peace. They forced us to war. Now we teach them what war means. Now we fight. For Earth, for freedom. For everyone who has ever been enslaved. Today we stand together." General Kratos felt satisfied as his fleet entered the Helios Junction. The passage was narrow, but his scouts had cleared it. They found mines and destroyed them. They found weapon platforms and eliminated them. The humans had tried to set another trap, but this time the Council was ready. "Foolish primitives," he muttered. Did they think the same trick would work twice? His 500 ships moved in a careful line through the junction. Their shields were at maximum. Their weapons were ready. This time, nothing would stop them. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jiwoo Park watched the Council fleet enter her kill zone. They had found her obvious defenses. Good. That meant they were confident. Overconfident. She waited until half the enemy fleet was inside the junction. Then she gave the order. Activate stealth. Mines. Now. The council ships had passed. Thousands of small objects disguised as debris. Rocks. Ice. Chunks. Wreckage. Each one was actually a nuclear mine wrapped in KIV stealth technology. The council's sensors had detected nothing. Now those mines activated all at once. Space erupted in nuclear fire. Explosions rippled through the council formation. Ships that thought they were safe suddenly found themselves in the heart of a minefield. Shields overloaded. Hulls cracked. 20 council vessels died in the first 30 seconds. Ambush. Kratos roared. Return fire. Find their ships. But the human vessels were hidden in the nebula walls, invisible to sensors. They launched missiles from concealment. Thousands of them. The council point defenses tried to respond, but they were overwhelmed. Then Chief Engineer Minho Jiang activated his masterpiece. Hidden cyber warfare nodes throughout the junction began transmitting. Malicious code flooded into the council ship's communication networks. The virus spread like wildfire, infecting ship after ship. On 60 council vessels, targeting computers went haywire. Friend or foe systems failed. Ships began firing on each other. Kratos watched in horror as his own fleet tore itself apart. Shut down the network, he ordered. Disconnect all systems. But the damage was done. 30 more ships were destroyed or crippled by friendly fire before his officers could isolate the virus. Human ships detected, his tactical officer shouted. They are everywhere! The officer was right. 10 human warships emerged from the nebula. But they were not alone. 50 resistance vessels appeared alongside them, ships from 12 different species, all armed with human weapons and tactics. The battle became chaos. In the narrow confines of the junction, the Council's numerical advantage meant nothing. They could not maneuver. They could not use their superior speed. They were trapped in a killing ground. Lieutenant Hana Song led a massive fighter strike. 300 small craft dove into the Council formation. They were too small and too many for the big ships to target effectively. They swarmed like angry bees, firing missiles at close range. Engines exploded. Weapon systems went dark. Command towers shattered. Hana's fighter shook as enemy fire passed close. Her displays showed red warnings. She ignored them. She lined up on a massive Council battleship and fired everything she had. Her missiles struck the ship's bridge. It exploded in a ball of flame. For Earth, she shouted. For freedom. Around her, other pilots echoed her words. They had practiced for this. Trained for this. Now they executed their mission with deadly precision. Commander Daejung Cho led the boarding assault. His pods launched from the Defiance toward a crippled Council dreadnought. It was Kratos' flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The ship was damaged, but still dangerous. Taking it would be suicide. Daejung smiled grimly. Perfect. The pods hit the hull. Cutting torches burned through armor. His Marines poured into the ship. This time the Council crew was ready. They had weapons. They had armor. They fought back hard. The corridors became a nightmare of fire and blood. Daejung fought his way forward. Behind him, his Marines cleared room after room. They took casualties. Good soldiers died. But they did not stop. They could not stop. Too much depended on them. They reached the bridge. The doors were sealed and reinforced. Daejung placed his biggest charge. The explosion ripped the doors apart. His squad rushed through into a hail of enemy fire. 2 Marines fell. Then 3, but the rest kept moving. Kept fighting. General Kratos stood in the center of his bridge. He held a plasma rifle and fired at the attacking humans. His officers fought beside him. They would not surrender. They could not surrender. The Council did not surrender. But they had never fought humanity before. Daejung's Marines advanced through the fire. Their armor absorbed hits. Their weapons never stopped. They flanked. They coordinated. They fought as a team. Slowly they pushed the defenders back. Finally, Kratos stood alone. His officers were dead. His crew was captured. Blood ran down his arm from a dozen wounds. He looked at Daejung with hate in his yellow eyes. You cannot win, Kratos said. The Council is eternal. Kill me and 1,000 more will take my place. Daejung lowered his weapon. No, the Council is already dead. It just does not know it yet. He gestured to his Marines. Secure him. We are taking this ship. Outside, the battle raged for 6 more hours. It was brutal. It was bloody. Council ships died by the dozens, but they took human and resistance vessels with them. The junction became a graveyard of burning wrecks and drifting debris. Admiral Tae-ho Kim commanded the human fleet from his flagship. He watched good people die. He watched ships he had served on explode. But he did not flinch. He gave orders calmly. He coordinated the attack. He did his job. "Sir, enemy flagship is captured," his communications officer reported. "Commander Cho has secured it. General Kratos is prisoner." Tae-ho allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Then he refocused. "Order all ships to press the attack. Do not let them regroup." But the Council fleet was already breaking. Without Kratos to command them, the officers panicked. Some ships tried to retreat. Others tried to push forward. The formation collapsed. Human and resistance forces surrounded isolated Council vessels and destroyed them methodically. At the same moment across the galaxy, resistance cells launched their attacks. On Tavros 4, freed slaves stormed Council installations. On 12 different worlds, shipyards exploded. Supply convoys vanished. Command stations went dark. Dr. Yuna Lee coordinated the galactic uprising from Earth. Her screens showed chaos spreading through Council territory. "It is working," she whispered. "They are everywhere at once. The Council cannot respond to all of it." On the Council station, Overlord Vexthor watched his empire crumble. Reports flooded in. Fleet destroyed at Helios Junction. Rebellions on 20 worlds. Shipyards burning. 2 Council members had already fled. Trademaster Quelix had vanished with the treasury. High Priestess Talvina was negotiating surrender with resistance leaders. "This is impossible," Vexthor said. "We ruled for 10,000 years. 10,000 years." He turned to his remaining advisors. "Send every ship we have. Crush the humans. Crush all resistance. Do it now." But his officers looked at each other nervously. Finally, one spoke. "My lord, we have no ships. The fleet is gone. The rebellions have spread to our own worlds. Our soldiers are refusing orders. The Empire is falling apart." Vexthor stared at him. Then he laughed. It was a mad sound, full of disbelief and rage. Destroyed by primitives, defeated by slaves, the mighty Council brought down by one backward planet. He collapsed into his throne. How? At the Helios Junction, the battle finally ended. Of the 500 Council ships that entered, only 80 escaped. 220 were destroyed. The rest were captured or disabled. The human and resistance forces had lost 38 ships. The casualties were heavy. Thousands dead, tens of thousands wounded. But they won. Admiral Tae-ho Kim surveyed the wreckage. His own ship was damaged. His crew was exhausted. But they were alive. And they had done the impossible. They had broken the Council's military power. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth," his communications officer said. "President Han wants to speak with you." President Bora Han's face appeared on his screen. She was crying. "You did it, Tae-ho. You actually did it. The galaxy is free." Tae-ho shook his head slowly. "The battle is won, Madam President. But the war is not over. The Council still exists. They still have worlds. They can rebuild. We need to make sure they can never threaten anyone again. Then we finish it," she said firmly. "We help the resistance. We free every enslaved world. We build something better than the Council. We build a true alliance of equals." Across the galaxy, beings watched the footage from the junction. They saw the mighty Council fleet broken. They saw human and resistance ships victorious. They saw that freedom was possible. That tyranny could be defeated. On 1,000 worlds, people rose up. The rebellions grew. The Council's grip weakened. The empire that had ruled for 10 millennia collapsed in weeks. It fell not because humanity was stronger, not because they had better weapons, but because they showed the galaxy something it had forgotten. The will to fight, the courage to resist, the determination never to surrender. In the ruins of the junction, Commander Cho stood on the captured flagship. He broadcast a message to every corner of the galaxy. His voice was tired but strong. To all beings under tyranny, to all slaves, to all oppressed. Today, Earth and its allies defeated the Council. Today we proved that resistance works, that fighting works, that freedom is worth any price.